The purpose of this recording is to provide exemplification of the lower end of CEFR level C1 performance for speaking. We'll talk about indicators of performance that make this test taker typical of the bottom of the C1 band. This recording only provides test taker responses. If you would like further context for the questions in this recording, you can find the corresponding test item audio and transcripts in the video Speaking Exemplification, Item Audio and Transcripts. These are genuine responses from test takers. The responses have not been manipulated in any way. Therefore, there may be responses shorter than the allotted time, or the test taker may run out of time when providing their response. Table 1 shows the alignment of PTE Academic scores to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR. The exemplification materials in this resource have been selected using this alignment. These exemplification materials show responses from test takers who have been classified at each CEFR band based on their PTE Academic speaking score. It should be noted that speaking scores come from the combination of many test items that measure different aspects of language proficiency. The purpose of these exemplars is to show the range of item responses produced by test takers in different CEFR bands and to provide indicative evidence of the key features of speaking performances across and within CEFR language proficiency bands. At the low C1 level, test takers can produce clear, systematically developed descriptions and appropriately structured presentations of their ideas, highlighting significant points and providing relevant supporting details. They can interact in a spontaneous manner, demonstrating a good level of fluency and ease of expression. Errors are infrequent and do not prevent them from communicating their ideas. For each test item, you will hear the test taker's response first, followed by the commentary on their response.
This chart describes the population growth in South Africa from 1996 to 2016. So we can see that there's a gradual growth from 40 million people to around 15 million people from 1996 to 2016. For female population, there's a gradual growth. For males, there's also a rapid growth from 20 million to nearly 30 million. We can see that there's 50-50% of people of female and male population. Therefore, this describes the population in South Africa.
This test taker's response is typical of low C1 level. She gives a clear, detailed description before rounding off with an appropriate conclusion, albeit a conclusion that is slightly cut off at the end due to the time limit. She can vary intonation and place stress correctly in order to express what she means clearly. Although she pauses at times to process the chart's information, she can express herself with a high degree of fluency. She manages to describe most key features of the chart, but does misrepresent one point when she says the male population reaches almost 30 million. This issue, however, would seem to relate to processing of the visual data rather than a lack of vocabulary range or control. As we would expect at C1, she has a good command of language, and the errors that do occur do not affect overall intelligibility.
Melbourne is a city where there's a wide, diverse, and wide variety of urban planning. It is people can access shops in a convenient walking distance, and it's also a city where there's modernized transport is allowed, such as public transport like train, trams, or buses. People can also go to widely dispersed shops and for decades.
This task assesses both receptive and productive skills. This test taker demonstrates C1 oral comprehension by retelling both the lecture's main points and supporting details in a logically structured summary. She is able to employ a broad range of vocabulary and grammatical structures appropriately. She is low C1 rather than a mid or high C1 due to issues in phonological, grammatical, and lexical control, particularly at the end of her summary. She says, people can also go to widely dispersed shops for decades. Though her speech is mostly clear, her pronunciation of widely dispersed is hard to understand. Instead of can go to for decades, she probably means to say have been able to go to for decades, while we can mostly understand what she means. These issues prevent her from attaining a higher score.
So the three students are discussing about the university open days. They're discussing the reason for having a uni open days. One of the things is there's a high reputation, so which reflects in application number of students every year. And so this is also for new students to find out whether they are a good fit, and it's easier for managing expectations when they come to the university. The high reputation of the university may make some students who come from public school that are not having enough confidence to go away. However, the open day showed that the student with a range of background can actually perform well in the university. The wide variety of students that they have seen from a modest background has high performance in classroom. There's also first-year ambassadors who lead new students in going around and answering questions with complete honest answers.
As we would expect at C1 level, the test taker demonstrates the ability to follow most of this complex interaction. She conveys a good understanding of the discussion's main topic and has clearly grasped many of the details. However, indicating that she is low C1 rather than higher, she fails to connect some points, and her summary loses cohesion in places. She seems to prioritize cramming lots of information into her summary ahead of giving it an appropriate structure of the kind we would expect at higher levels. As we would expect at C1, she can express herself fluently in an almost effortless manner. Some influence of the other language or languages that she can speak is noticeable in her pronunciation and the prosodic features of her speech, intonation, stress, etc. But this does not affect her overall intelligibility.
I'll suggest to buy her a magnetic whiteboard so she can write down all her to-do lists or write down all our good memories that we had in the past that would help her feel less homesick when she's going away to start university soon. It will also be a good idea if she can scribble her own idea on it and
The test taker demonstrates C1 level oral interaction ability by responding spontaneously to the task with an appropriate, clearly explained, and well developed suggestion. She can use a range of C1 vocabulary, including colloquial terms, for example, to do list, and she speaks with a high degree of fluency and control. Perhaps due to the spontaneous nature of the task, grammatical errors do occur. For example, when she says, that would help her to less homesick. But the test taker can be understood throughout her response.
The chart shows the population in South Africa between the years 1996 and 2016, showing both the females and males. As starting from 1996, the population started as 40 million, as having same male and female population, while growing the population towards 2016, having more towards 57 million, and that will be more projected towards the future. So we see a growth in the population between these years.
This test taker represents low C1 level, in that she can produce smooth, intelligible spoken discourse with only occasional lapses in control of stress, rhythm, and intonation, which do not affect intelligibility or effectiveness. She speaks with a smooth, natural flow, only pausing to select information in a way we would expect of this task type. Her description of the data is well structured, and she captures most of the key points. Her misrepresentation of the 2016 total population as 57 million, which actually appears to be around 50 million, would seem to be an issue of visual or data literacy rather than a word choice error relating to linguistic range. Generally, she seems able to select appropriate formulations from a broad range of language to express herself clearly, as we would expect at C1. Yet her description of 1996 as 1996 stands out as a significant lapse, highlighting why she is low rather than mid or high C1.
So Melbourne City is one of the most responsive cities in the urban city as it has been developing over a great period of time. It is considered as modern, motorized transport spreading over great distances as one can't walk in that area and cycling can't be practiced. So it's using the motor cars and the motor transport is the accessibility to certain areas in Melbourne as it is considered more evolving with time.
This test taker's fluency and pronunciation are quite typical of the C1 level, where we expect the ability to articulate virtually all the sounds of English, but also expect that some features of accents from another language or languages may still be noticeable. A few words towards the start of her lecture summary are made unintelligible by her speed of speech, but for the most part she can be fully understood. She produces an effective summary of the lecture's main point, rounding off with a reasonably appropriate conclusion that Melbourne is evolving with time. Her use of the word evolving rather than something like developing is a little unnatural here, but we expect C1 test takers to sometimes make this kind of mistake, such as occasional minor slips that do not impact intelligibility.
They start off by asking who is attending the open day, and then they question why they need an open day. Since one of the people speaking says that there is no need to attract students, and there's a high number of students applying, and there's high number of rejection being held by the university. So the reason why the open day is really important because the open day shows prospective students what the university is like and to know what it is like to study in that university. As people think that they are not good enough to apply, that they can't apply, but the aim of the open day is to show that all the backgrounds are good enough to apply, that you can apply even if you are from different areas around the world, from different university, public, private, different schools, and then the first year students will be as volunteers in order to show the prospective students the diversity of the university, showing them around, answering their questions, sitting with them for a coffee and showing them the true image of the university, not just a marketing criteria. So the open day is for prospective students to know what they are up to and to know if the school is fit for their needs and what they want to achieve.
Demonstrating C1 level ability in both receptive and productive skills, this test taker manages to extract the key points from the discussion and condense them into an effective summary. She consistently maintains a high degree of grammatical accuracy, with errors being rare and difficult to spot, as we would expect at C1. She can use a broad range of complex grammatical structures appropriately and with considerable flexibility. She speaks in an almost effortless manner, with pausing relating to the selection of what to say next, as we would expect of a complex summary task like this. She does not appear to be struggling to express herself.
Since she is going away out of the country and she is having a new home, I would suggest giving her like memory gifts such as pictures, keychains. I would also give her like a book that she can, a notebook that she can put all her memories in when she travels. So she can take pictures, she can take notes and put them in that book. That would be a really nice gift for her to use and to enjoy and to remember us by.
At C1 level, we expect users of English to be able to interact with little obvious searching for expressions. Only conceptually difficult subject matter should hinder a natural, smooth flow of language. This task, which presents a more everyday topic, allows the test taker to demonstrate the ability to use language flexibly and effectively for social purposes. Her response, delivered spontaneously with little time to prepare, is well developed and well structured. She has a broad range of complex grammatical structures at her disposal and can use them appropriately and with considerable flexibility. At low C1, we still expect some minor slips in vocabulary control, such as her saying memory gifts. However, while this is not a common term, she's able to be immediately understood when saying it.